What's up, Shikata and I back again. We're going to do another video here on Neos VR, the coolest metaverse in the land. And I noticed that whenever I come around and look at some places, like if I go to a creator jam or look through the inventory and I see these cool objects that people make, I'm just like, how do they make that? Or how do they come across thinking about how they made that? And I'm still learning the basics of Neos, how to use components, how to use scripting and all that kind of good stuff. So I figured this would be a good way for me to learn is to make tutorials where I actually go through objects that I look at and find in either public folders or out and about and try to figure out how they did it. And yeah, so let's do one here. So I had come across this interesting looking thing the other day at one of the creator jams. I was like, what in the world is this thing? Really cool stuff. Let me go ahead and render my private UI. So if I were to go ahead and go to the inventory, for those that are new to Neos, this is obviously your inventory where you actually do different things. Typically, you have your essential tools, and I got the tooltip I have here on my finger right there, using that dev tooltip. So when you double click it, it'll come out and spawn it. So for instance, it'll be out there like that, and you click it and equip it. And this is the dev tooltip. Pretty cool stuff. And whenever you're looking at the inventory, there's a folder called Neos Essentials. And then under there, there's community public folders. And if you go to public folders, these are ones that other players in Neos have shared with the community, and they can go in there and look and see what's in there. Like if I wanted to look at this one here, I can open it up and see what they have in it. So let's go look at stuff, for example. So if I go to stuff and I see, cool stuff, let's grab this, see what this is all about. So I see this thing, and I don't know what it is, but, oh, cool. But, so I guess that's kind of cool. So to figure out how to do this and how they do this particular thing, you can always go ahead and select it like this, and then you can inspect like that, open inspector. And then up at the top, you'll see there's a root right there, and that'll go to the root of the actual object itself, which would be this. And then from there, you can start looking down through and go through the different logics and what have you. But we're not going to do that for this one. What I did is on this, I had saved this to my inventory because I was really interested to see what this particular user was doing. So I said, I got to figure out how to do this. So I'm going to go ahead and try to recreate it. And I'm going to use the inspector for this object on one of these toruses. So what I did is I selected it like that. And then I did open inspector like that. And then once I did open inspector, well, actually, I'll just do that. So I did open inspector. You can see it's one of the toruses. I'm going to go to the root like that. And you can see each one of these, once you expand it, each have a torus underneath it, right? And it's doing this expand and contract and up and down all at once. So I was like, wow, that is pretty cool. So let's take a look here. So first, let's look at this first part. Now, my guess is that this is an empty of some sort. And by an empty, it's just a position or a place in 3D space. And then you can make children underneath it. The reason why you would probably do that is so that the torus or whatever you put underneath it will stay in the position of the parent. So if I'm not actually going to move the parent, but I'm going to move the torus, I would actually put it underneath an empty, right? So let's start with that. So I'm going to have my dev tip open here. I'm going to create new, and I'm going to say empty object. All right, so I have an empty object now. Let me move this over here. And actually, this is really in my face here. Let me move this back a tad. There we go. All right, so I have an empty object. I am just going to call this, I don't know, parent. Oops. I'm just going to say parent thingy, because I don't even know what this thing is. It's really cool though. So we'll just say parent of thingy. All right, so I have a parent now, and it's just an empty object. And underneath it, I'm going to make a child. You do that with this star right here. And you can see now I have this parent of thingy. I'm going to name it this right here, funny, because I'm going to kind of follow along with that deal there. So let me go ahead and click up here and name this one funny. There we go. Now there's a couple ways you can actually add the torus that they have here that you see there. One is you can just make it with your dev tooltip, or you can go ahead and do it as a component. I'm going to go ahead and just create new with my dev tooltip. And actually, let me deselect so I don't see that in front of me. I'm going to hit 3D model, and it's a torus. Whoa. So let me size this down a tad. There we go. All right, so we have a torus now, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it, and you do that if you have the Oculus by doing your clicking in on the right thumbstick, and I'm going to go to the inspector for it. So now we have this torus. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and hover over the name of it and grab it with the grab key, and I'm going to drop it on top of funny, which will then make it a child of funny. Now, it looks like, let me see here. It looks like the grabbable component is on the actual empty, but I'm guessing it is not on the torus. Grabbable is not enabled. Okay. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and take the enabled box, checkbox out of grabbable, but let's put it here. Now, in Neos, what you do to create different things and interactions is you make what's called components. So if I click attach component, there's a variety of things you can put in here like audio and different assets. What we want though is we want a interaction. We want to make something grabbable. So when I reach out and use the grabbable on my controller, it'll grab the object. For that, it's under something called transform. And then here you'll see interaction. And here you'll see grabbable. So now I have a grabbable listed there. It's enabled. And there it is, parent of funny thing. So in this particular case here, if I back up a little, oops, hold on. If I back up a little bit here, you'll see that the empty is listed here, and I can actually grab it, and I think I can move it. Yes, no? Let's see. Should be grabbable. Okay, there's the torus. Okay, there we go. I wasn't actually clicking on it for some reason. All right, so I'm grabbing the actual base, the empty object, if you will, underneath the, or on top of the torus. All right, so now we have that. Let's go ahead and add some stuff here to funny. And let's determine what they're doing here. All right, so it looks like there's no real action on the torus. It looks like there's a mesh renderer, which shows it, has a collider, a grabbable function, and it should have a material. Yeah, right there. And that looks like it's about it. So it looks like all the action is on funny. Yep, there we go. All right, so you see all these different things that are moving and different colors. These are what we're going to actually start messing with. All right, so first one is value MultiDriver float. In this particular case here, a float would just be a singular number with a decimal point. So 0.1 would be an example. Float 3 would be 3 of those values, such as X, Y, and Z. So 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, whatever. That's a float 3. So it looks like here the first, let's see, multi-value driver. I think this is going to be driving. Okay, so it says progress on value gradient driver, which is this. So I'm guessing we have to make these gradient drivers first. So I see this one's for position. This one's affecting the radius, the minor radius. This one's affecting the major radius. And this one's affecting the color. So it looks like these are just, it looks like what value gradient driver component is just allowing you to modify properties of an object. And this first one, it looks like we're going to be modifying the position. So having it go up and down and up and down, I'm guessing that's what it's doing here over time. So at 0.00 seconds, it's at position 000. At 0.33 seconds in the time frame, it's a 1 in the Z. And then at 0.67, it's at 0.5. And then at 1, or the full end of it, it is back to 0. So it's going up and down, up and down. All right, so let's take a look here. We have our torus. There's the position. Now again, it's underneath the parent, which is under this, whatever this position is here. But let's go ahead and start adding in our value gradient drivers. And I think that is under transform. Drivers, and let's see here. There we go. Value gradient driver. Notice how it's green and the other ones are purple. This means there's extra values that have to be added to it. If I were to just click this, it would add just the spinner component. But it has this T, that means I have to give it an additional value. So I'm going to click that, and now it's asking for the value. And the first one we had was a float 3 because we're going to be affecting the position, which has X, Y, and Z, 3 float spots. So we want to grab the float 3, which is right there. Awesome. And we just add points, 1, 2, 3, and 4, because we're doing 4 pieces of time. Now, obviously, if you want to affect it to be slower or faster, you can modify, you can add 6 of those if you want, and then have different position values, but we'll stick with what they have: 0, 33, 67, and 1. All right. So at 0 position, at 0 seconds, it's going to be at that position. And then we're going to go ahead and at 33, I think they have it at, let's see, they put it at 1 in the Z, I believe. And the Z would be the up and down, I believe. Oh, wait a minute. That's strange. No, actually, in the Y. That's just, yeah, it'd be in the Y. Because we want to go up and down. So the green here represents the Y, in this case being up. With the arrow pointing up, that means it's the positive direction. If I was going to want it to go down, it would be -1. But in this case, we're going to go 1 in the positive for X. And then the next one is going to be at 0.67. And we want, I think that one was 0.5, was it? Yes. So 0.5 for this one. And that is also in the Y. It's kind of scrunched together. That's why I thought it was the Z. So X, Y, and Z, there's 0.5. And then at the full swing end, and by the way, this 1 is representative of 0 to 1. See the 1 right there? There is the 67. There's the 33, so on and so forth, right? So that's what is represented by these numbers. So at 0 position, it's going to be 0. At 33 seconds, it's going to be at 1 on the Y. And at 0.67, it's going to go downwards to 0.5. And then it's going to return back to 0. Now, it's not going to do anything right now because we have to give it a target. In this case, the target will be our position for the torus. So we're going to grab that position. Here's the torus. We're going to grab its position value, and we're going to drop it here in the target. There we go. All right, so now if I do, actually, let me move this down a little bit here. If I can grab it, there we go. So now if we do the progress, see? Boom, up and down, up and down, up and down. All right, so that is affecting that. Very cool. All right, what's the next thing we're doing here? So the next thing looks like we're doing is another gradient driver, but it's a float, and it's the minor radius. So let's see, minor radius. Okay, so minor radius is 1 single float, 0.1. So like if I were to modify that, look at the size of the torus now. So if I were to modify that to 9, it obviously makes it. So that's that's what we're going to be modifying right there. We're going to be modifying that bad boy right there, minor radius. Okay. So we need another one of these value gradient driver floats. So we're going to go back to attach component. Under transform, drivers, and value gradient driver. And this one's going to be just a float because it's a singular one. We're not going to be doing position. So this one here just needs that. So we're going to add our 4 again. And what I'm guessing is it's doing is I can notice that looking at this, it goes big, then small, then big, then small. So we're affecting the radius as it goes up and down. So at 0.0, we'll keep it at 0. And then we'll change this here to 33. We'll change this one to 67. We're just going to keep it the same as the one we did previously. And this will be a 1. All right, let's see what they had here. Minor radius, they did 0.1, 0.1, 0.06, and 0.1. Okay. Sounds good. And again, you can modify these to whatever you want, to whatever suits your fancy. All right, so 0.1, 0.1, 0.0, whoops, 0.06, and then 0.1. All right, so again, we need to give it a target. In this case, we're going to be doing the minor radius, which is right there. Whoops, grabbing that. Let's grab the minor radius, drop it in the target, boom. All right, so now if we look at our position or our progress bar, you can see right about there is where it gets thinner, then it goes back up, okay? So once the value MultiDriver kicks into gear, it's going to go up and down, and at the same time, it's going to expand and contract. Now they want to do one for the major radius, so we'll do that. Transform drivers, we'll do this fairly quick here, now that we kind of get the concept. And again, the major radius is a single float number, so we'll grab the float, and again, we'll add 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's go ahead and add in our different interval places. So the first one's going to be 33, then 67. And again, you can modify these to whatever value you feel like. And this will be a 1. I'm going to move this out of the way. It's tripping me out. All right, so we have that there, and let's see what they did for this particular one. So major radius, they did 0.15, 0.15, 0.5, 0.15. Okay, sounds good. So 0.15, whoops. 0.15 and 0.15. All right, so that is the major radius. Now they need the target again. Let's grab our major radius. Whoops, my hand's bugging out there. Let's grab major radius. Drop it. Dang it. And drop it there. All right. Oh, so it shrunk automatically because of the 0.15 as its starting position. So if I scroll this, there we go. It gets bigger and smaller. All right. Next, what we have is color. So we're going to go to our transform and drivers. And again, it's going to be a value gradient driver. But this time we're going to pick color. So this will go ahead and modify the color. Oops. This will go ahead and modify the color in a whatever the time frame is. Now, I think on this, they don't really change the color. It's just gray the whole time. So let's see here. Yeah, so they just keep it as one color. They don't actually add any more positions. I'm gonna add a couple positions here. So I'm gonna say add, we'll do 3. So let's go ahead and bring transparency all the way up. Let's have the first one be red. And then the next one will be blue. Full transparency, or full opaque. And then the last we'll do is green. Okay, scroll that back up. Awesome. All right, so that is at the position there. Let's say this is at position 33 and 67. And actually, I need to add one more just to keep it in line with what we're doing. We'll add one more, and we'll say, I don't know, purplish. Sounds good. Dark purple. And that will be the 1 position. Awesome. All right, so again, we're going to need the actual albedo color for this particular one. Let me move my camera control out of the way. And I am going to grab, let's see, right here. See where it says materials? If you click this right beside it, right there, it's going to pop out the actual inspector for the material. Here's the albedo color, and this is the actual values that we're going to be affecting. So let's grab this, and we'll drop it in there. And you'll notice it turns red because that is at position 0. Now let's back up a little bit and do our progress. You can see it slowly changing color. Isn't that cool? That is wild. I like that. All right, very cool. So now I think we're doing pretty good here. Now we just need to add the MultiDriver, right? Because what I'm guessing this MultiDriver does, by looking at it, let's take a peek at it here. All right, so it has a value. So the value is there, driver list. So my guess is what happens here is that each gradient driver, we're going to drop the progress value from each one into 4 drives. And then, because it's animating, it's probably, right down here, Panner. Oh, dang it. Oh, I don't know when I clicked there. But it's using this Panner 1D, so it's an animation. Okay, see right there, it says value on value MultiDriver. Okay, so that is what's going to make it actually go into motion. So let's grab this value MultiDriver float. And the float is going to be this singular value here, 0.1, 0.2, whatever it may be. All right, so let's grab that. That one actually, though, is under relations, value MultiDriver. I know it should be in the other one, right? So we're going to do a float. Okay, so we see that there's no drives. Let's add 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grab the progress bar because we want to drive this bar moving back and forth with this MultiDriver. So we're going to grab the progress and we're going to drop it as the first field there. And then we're going to grab the next progress, drop it as the second field, grab the third one, drop it on the third field, and then grab the fourth one and drop it in the last field. All right, so now we should have a value as 0, and then we have this particular one here. Now, if I were to put in a value of 1, it would go to the next one. You can see the color changed a bit because it's going to this one here, which in this particular case would be one of these right here, the 1 position right there. So this we're going to bring back to 0. And I believe the Panner 1D is what actually makes this thing kick off. So I think that one is under transform and drivers, maybe? Yes, Panner 1D. All right, so the Panner 1D, we have a target that it needs now. In this particular case, we want to animate this value so that it goes between all 4 of these at the same time. So we want them all to kind of play at the same time. But that's for the single Torus. They did, what, 6 of them? So what they probably did is they added a pre-offset so that it positions the next Torus in a different spot. So it actually looks cool like that right there. Okay. So we're going to need the value, which in this case is here, and that will be our target. Okay, now nothing's moving yet because we actually have to give it a speed. So let's just start off with 0.375. Sounds good. All right, there we go. We are playing with power. All right, let me close some of these things here. All right, that looks pretty wild. Look at that. It's changing colors. It's doing all that kind of cool stuff. I'm going to drag it down a little bit further. Oh, I like that. That is a cool effect. All right, so that means we need to grab this top one, select it. It is selected. And if we hit this square over here, it's going to duplicate it. Now it's just putting it, see right there, it's stacking it where the other one is. So what we need to do is we need to go to the property of this one, and we need to put a little offset there. Let's see what they use for an offset for theirs. Let's take a look at the first one. Funny. So they did a pre-offset of that number there. I'm just going to grab that number. Put a pre-offset. Boom. There we go. Boom. Look at that. That is super cool. Nice. All right. So we're going to add another one, child, to it. And then this one here, we'll give another value. Let's see what their next one is here. Pre-offset is that. Let's drop that in there. Ah, missed it. Well, there we go. So now we have 3 of them, and they're going off into all kinds of cool stuff. So you can, like I said, you can vary each one of these because they are individual on here. So you can actually modify some of these numbers here. You can even change the speed of some of them. If you want some of them to go a little faster than the others, like let's do this one here. Let's make one of them just super, super fast. We'll do a 1. So that one's going like boom, 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 boom. That one's bouncing back and forth like crazy mad cakes. There we go. That's pretty cool. So you can, like I said, modify each individual one to your taste. So if you do want them to be a cool offset, not only in position, but also in speed, then that's a pretty cool way to do it there. But that's tripping me out. I need to change that back. So we'll do 0.375. Bing, bing. There we go. Cool. And like I said, you can just keep doing this over and over and over, and change these offsets and change the colors. You can make some of them be like a texture if you want. So really, really cool stuff you can do here. All right. Did that one change? That one doesn't look like it changed at all. Let's see. Did I pick a number? Let's grab this one again. There we go. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to leave it as that. Now, you'll notice here, I'm going to close this out. Close this out. And that. So you'll know here that I can move it around. See? Just like that. And I think I moved my world. So let me undo that. There we go. So yeah, I mean, like I said, now that the actual full object itself is grabbable, the parent, the empty, you can now grab it and do whatever you want with it. That looks super cool. So this would be something cool that you can put, like if you put some particle effects or some different change in colors for the textures and such. This would be like a cool fountain, right? And again, you can change the radius and size of each of these. So really, really ingenious way of doing things. Really cool effect. So I don't know who made it, but if you're out there and you are the one that made this, tell me and wherever I post this and say, hey, this was me. And I'm not trying to steal it, but I'm just trying to learn how you did it. And this is really cool stuff. All right, cool. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that tutorial. Till next time, peace out, players.